Hello, everyone. It is that time of year. I am finally going to be covering the Eurovision 2022 Song Contest. So, the semifinal one competition is going to take place on the 10th of May. And we now have, and I had to wait because one song was a bit of a straggler. We now have all the 17 songs that are going to be competing released in this first semifinal. So, I'm going to be filming a sort of breakdown of all of the songs, but I'm also going to be revealing what I hope are the results of qualification. So I'm going to start out by talking about the 7 songs, because 10 songs can qualify, the 7 songs that I do not believe deserve to qualify. And I'll be going through in order of worst to best, and then I'll go through in order of worst to best, my top 10 that I want to qualify. And then at the end, I'll go through a little bit of what I think will actually happen, because remember, I'm typically wrong. My taste doesn't always equate with the general population. So I'm going to be guessing a little bit there. But I will make a video for semifinal 1, and I will make one for semifinal 2. That should be coming out sometime in the next week. And then I will make a song about the big 5. The 5 songs that do not compete in the semis, they are, of course, the big 5 countries that put the most money into Eurovision. You know how I feel if you've watched my videos about them not competing in the semis. I don't agree with that decision, but it's been the way it is for so long. They just don't seem to want to change it. So with that, as it is, those 5 songs I'll talk about in a separate video coming up as well. So with that being said, let's not dwell too long on this. Now, if you're new to Eurovision, this video might be a little confusing to you. I'm not here to break down the rules of the contest. There are plenty of videos or resources that will do that for you. But I've been covering Eurovision for a couple of years now, and I've really enjoyed my hot takes, because a lot of the time they are hot takes. Let's just say general fan favorites don't always rub me the right way. There's always songs that I feel are overrated. But that being said, I've still been really happy with the winners that we've got over the last few years. I haven't really been covering Eurovision pre 2015. My awareness of it was very spotty. So forgive me if I'm not in it with all the references historically. I kind of know more of the recent, kind of contestants, not so much the more older contestants, but we'll do what we can. One day I'll familiarize myself with them. But let's go through this. 17 songs are going to be competing, assuming that everyone stays in the contest. There's one entrant in particular in this semifinal who I am, as we all are, very concerned for. That is Ukraine. I really hope that come May 10th, Ukraine is in a stable enough position to be able to participate in this contest. I also, and I'll talk about this when I get to Ukraine's song, I really hope that the broadcaster doesn't feel sort of pressured to withdraw because of appearances, that they don't want to. I'll just put it this way. I've seen a lot of people comment that they don't think it's necessarily fair for Ukraine to be competing this year because they're going to get so much sympathy. I'll get to that. I'll get to my thoughts on that, okay? So we'll start with talking about the 7 songs that I do not feel deserve to qualify out of these 17. Starting with my least favorite song of these 17 songs that we have here. The one I also think is the most likely not to qualify. And ironically, it was also the first entry we ever heard for this Eurovision season. Intelligent Music Project's song Intention is the song for Bulgaria. This was the first song we ever heard of the contest. I don't know why Bulgaria put it out so early. It's funny because I was reading somewhere and they were talking about countries that tend to usually be the last to ever reveal their entry in previous years, and Bulgaria was top of that list. So it's kind of hilarious that Bulgaria decided to, hey, we're usually one of the last people to reveal our songs. This year, we're going to be the first. Unfortunately, it has been consistently at the bottom of a vast majority of rankings that I have seen over the course of the last several months as more songs have come out. This is a very old school rock entry. And obviously, last year we had a triumphant win by Måneskin for Italy. That's why the contest is being held in Turin this year. But this is definitely a lot less dynamic. The melody and the chorus are not nearly as infectious or I think crowd pleasing. It's a very safe entry and it is a very bland entry. at least in the sonic department. It's also not my type of music, so that is also not helping. But despite as I'm not such a hard rock guy, I do appreciate a good hard rock song at Eurovision. I can cross that bridge, that divide for me. But the only thing slightly redeeming about it are the lyrics, and I do think that I haven't seen this performed on stage, but I do think that they are competent vocally. The only thing that makes me think that this song has any chance of qualifying is the fact that there is, given the current climate politically right now, well, given the current situation in Ukraine, there is a subtext here to the lyrics that could be interpreted, and in time I've always known I'm never in the safety zone. I took the fight, but was I right? They were sending me into war. My intention is strong and real. Only power steals my will. The illusion of safety's surreal. Don't let it go for the kill. You can see how this would be a bit rousing for people who are, fighting alongside Ukraine, and also just sort of consciously in that kind of mindset of we were placed in this war through no fault of our own, and now we are having to really stand up for. We're basically no longer in the safety zone. And so I could see the appeal of something that is a bit more boomer rock kind of territory. I could see the appeal for the older generation to a certain degree. But ultimately, I do not think that there is much of a path for this song to qualify. I don't think that we are going to see much in the way of staging that's going to, make this an interesting story on stage. I don't know. I just don't see this being, I don't feel like a lot of effort's being put in here. Sorry. I don't think I'm offending too many people by saying that this song is my least favorite of this semi. So my next least favorite song, and a song that, again, I hope does not qualify, is Eat Your Salad. This is the entry for Latvia. The group is called CT Zeni. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. My apologies for pronunciation in this video. I'm American. I try. But Chiti or CT Zeni, they're bringing us that good old-fashioned joke track to Eurovision, a song that you are definitely not supposed to take seriously, just like you're not supposed to take this contest seriously. Now, look, I do think that before I get into the critiques, I do think that they have pretty strong charisma and stage presence. I think that they choreograph themselves well on stage. They've got an interesting array of instrumentalists. You've got the guy on the saxophone, you've got the drummer, you've got all these personalities, the two singers, the rapping. It's got a lot in the package that could be crowd pleasing. So, I'm not necessarily going to bash them as instrumentalists or as musicians or as singers, even as songwriters, because let's be real, it's not clever what they're doing, but there clearly is a niche they're going for, a lane they're going for. They're self-aware, at least I think they're pretty self-aware about what it is that they're doing. Clearly, these lyrics are going to need to be cleaned up if they're going to be performing on the Eurovision stage. I don't even think that the CD is going to let them use some of the profanity that they are using in these lyrics. So clearly, they need to clean up their language. But right from the opening line, which I won't repeat, but if you Google the lyrics, it's sort of like, okay, this is where we're going. This is where we're going.
It's a song about veg. Salad is great, and it's as sexy as fur. Ha!
It's a spoof that I can't really obviously tell is sincere or is just sort of like, because you could read it as, okay, they're making fun of the far left. They're making fun of people who are like super into the environment, like to almost, I don't want to say neurotic degree, but the way they're portraying it, they're making it sound like a neurotic kind of OCD thing. I don't think, and I don't believe, but I have not researched much about this track, and I don't really want to. It's not a song that really invites me to want to know more, because obviously there's not really that much depth behind it. This is clearly just a joke or a fun prank kind of song. This is just like, hey, why not do this and see if Eurovision bites? Because sometimes they will. And they clearly did. I don't know what the Latvia selection, panel and voting people were thinking, but this is what they give us. There is another song in this competition who I'll cover in this semi who is also offering a absurdist kind of what the F kind of track that, believe it or not, I'm actually seeing more hate for than this one. Oh, now it's starting to even out. But I was like, how can you like Latvia's and not like Norway's? Doesn't make sense to me. And I actually think that even though Norway is equally absurd and stupid, I think that Norway is offering something way more interesting sonically. And I also think they could put on an even more interesting stage show. I think what we've seen for this song with City Zeni is pretty much what we're going to get in the final or the semi. I don't think we're going to see much beyond their Latvian selection performance. So, I mean, there might be some cartoon animated, I get the vibe of like, I was just watching Drag Race season 12 and Dahlia and the broccoli and like, everyone dressed as fruit. Like I could see people dressed in these like giant, child's costumes, versions of vegetables and salad, like lettuce. And I could see them dancing in the background stupidly. I mean, this is what we sometimes do get with Eurovision is these like child-friendly, even though this is not a child-friendly song, but like a song that sort of suits childlike visual that is like Sesame Street turned vulgar. I don't know how else to put it. The only thing I will say is, again, to be a little more on the positive side, the men are pretty fine. They're not winning the boyfriend award for the Eurovision 2022, and I will reveal in one of these videos who is winning that award, because there's always the singer or the band member who, is just really good on the eyes. But there's a lot of good looking men in this competition. But yeah, I will say that they're easy on the eyes, which doesn't hurt them. But please, Europe, please do not send them to the final. That's all I'm saying, because they're not worth it. They're not worth it. There's another joke entry that's worth it more, and I'll get to that. So again, I don't think this is too controversial that I have this not qualifying. The third song that I would not like to see qualify, this is where it gets a little trickier, because these two, Bulgaria and Latvia, are the clear standouts for me of like, sorry, ma'am, this is garbage. I'm really sorry, but that's just how I feel. But moving forward, the next song that unfortunately I just don't really see a path to qualify for is Moldova. This might be a little bit more controversial. I think that some people might think that this song deserves to go through, but this is a fairly competitive semi. There's just better options on the table. Moldova is sending a song called The Train in Moldovan by the group Zadjijub and the Advahov brothers. I butchered that pronunciation, sure did. We've got a Rick-rollicking folk ethnic tune here, which is normally exactly my language. This is the kind of stuff I love to see at Eurovision if you follow my channel. I love when we have folk music that sounds regional, that is in their own native language, that's catchy. This is checking a lot of the boxes. Believe me, we have jumped significantly in quality from Bulgaria and Latvia to this next song that I don't think should qualify. Like, we're in the next 5 songs that I think shouldn't qualify. These are hot takes. These are just, songs not every song can make it. Like, I'm sorry. I think that there is definitely a path forward for this song, but it will be a little bit of a battle. Like I said, it's in a competitive semi, and I just think that there's a couple other songs that are taking the upbeat folk ethnic rap sing-song kind of route that I think are a lot stronger, that I think might overshadow this one. It sounds like they're saying we're taking the train to Bucharest. I hear Bucharest, and I'm believing that means Bucharest. The train is moving. It's like it's flying from one country to another. Which country? Where do you start? Old country, new country. It's like 2, it's 1. Hey, ho, let's go. Folklore and rock and roll. The train is leaving. Where are you? Chisinau to Bucharest. So Chisinau is the capital of Moldova. Bucharest is the capital of Romania. So reading the lyrics, it makes sense now. And then they dance along to the fiddle, and it's just a fun time. I mean, this has broad-ranging appeal. I could see the older generation eating this up, in particular. Because everyone in the video is sort of almost in that generation, and it has this classic 20th century folk Europe feel. Eastern Europe calling, very strong here, very sing-song, it's kind of forgettable melodically, but it's doing what it needs to do. I respect it, Vanessa Hudgens' voice, but ultimately, I think there are stronger entries. I'm sorry, I don't know if we're going to be taking that train from Chisinau to Bucharest into the grand final. Just not sure, but I wouldn't be too surprised. So the next entry we just received as me of filming this video Armenia's entry, we have the singer Rosalind with her song Snap. I read somewhere someone said this doesn't sound like anything Armenia would normally send. And I agree. This sounds a lot more like something we might get from a Nordic country or maybe from like the UK or something. It's a very, it's a little tepid, but it's a sing-songy, fun indie folk pop song. Think the Lumineers or think Maria Digby, like that kind of vibe. It's harmless. It's very like catchy and it's kind of innocent and whimsical. Something that like Denmark, I think would have been right up like Leonora, Love Is Forever, or what they sent last year, Say Yes, or whatever year that was. I'm sorry, the last few years have been a blur. But like I said, it's in that vein. Again, I wouldn't hate this song being the final, but I also think that this song is not really very special. And maybe I would put this below Moldova. Maybe I'd put this one below Moldova. Maybe my ranking is changing as I make this video. But I don't think a lot of people are checking for this one, even though it just came out. I don't see this one qualifying. But it's a sweet number. It's a sweet number, a sweet sentiment. But there's a couple other songs that take that route that are a little stronger for me. The next entrant that I don't really want to see qualify is Denmark. I think I'm getting into a lot more controversial water here. We have this female-fronted band called Ready. Their song, The Show. It starts out as like a piano ballad, and then we get the guitars coming in and picks up the tempo. There's just nothing really groundbreaking about what they're giving us here. Even with the styling and the staging that we have on the Danish television selection stage, we're seeing more interesting variants of this than other artists. I'm not really connecting to it. I'm not connecting to it melodically. I really feel like it's a one-note kind of track. There's not enough dynamic. We're not really getting a vocal moment from her, except at the beginning when we don't have the guitar coming through. Again, it's also not so much my genre of music, and I'm predicting that rock might not do as well this year because rock won last year. Now, this isn't like hard rock or punk rock by any means. This is like very kind of tepid, but I still don't really think that's what people are checking for. So I don't think that Denmark should make the cut. So sorry, but no. So this gets really tough moving forward. Unfortunately, there are going to be songs that I like that I don't see make it. The next song that I don't think is going to qualify is Croatia. Croatia is a very similar style. The song is called Guilty Pleasure by Mia Dimjik. The song is in a similar style to Armenia's, but just a little bit more affectionate, a little bit more whimsical, a little bit more strong melodically. Very Taylor Swift vibes. I feel like this song would have fit perfectly on Red. Just her with the guitar, with this very endearing kind of featherweight melody, whimsical romantic love song. I do think that some people are a little polarized by her having that dancer on stage for that performance she gave at Dora. I actually think that dancer around her added just a little bit more. I mean, obviously, she's just sitting at a guitar. You need something else. And usually when they have interpretive dance, maybe a couple, maybe not just one man, but I could see it being just a lone male or lone female dancer. It helps kind of distract you and give you sort of a visual to this somewhat saccharine, a little bit basic, but still very sweet, melodic, guitar-driven country folk tune. I get like a bit of that Vanessa Carlton kind of girl next door vibe that I just feel like she's kind of relatable. She's, I think, styled pretty well in the Dora performance. And I think could be polished and really up to the game, but I just don't see, with so many other flashier entries and fan favorites, this song really, unfortunately, it's facing a real uphill battle here in this semi, and I see it getting completely overshadowed. But I definitely appreciate it a lot more than I think a lot of other people are, completely sleeping on it. Considering it a bathroom break kind of, no, for me, the bathroom break would be more Bulgaria, that's Denmark is kind of a bathroom break for me. And then the final song, and this is really tough. And this is definitely controversial, okay? The final song that I personally would not like to see qualify. Drum roll, please. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get a lot of people rage quitting this video, but the final song I don't think should qualify is Grease. Someone's got to take that 7th spot. I'm sorry. There's 17 songs here. It's the one I like the least out of the other 10 or 11 songs that are in my favorites. Amanda Tenfjord, Die Together. I really want to embrace this song. It's grown on me a little bit since its first release. I've listened to it more because I'm like, no, Arthur, we need to give this a fair shot. You maybe didn't vibe with it the first time around, but like for the stands, like for the Eurovision fans, like I see a lot of support for this. Greece is really always been killing it. I think Greece is always polished. They're always putting on a show with the staging. But I don't, this song is missing something that I think adds this dynamic, powerful emotion to it. I feel the emotion of the lyrics and the delivery, but I still want more from it. But I know it's controversial. It's just not the strongest melody for me. It's getting there. I feel the emotion, but it's not quite at the level of a few of the other power ballads that we've got in this semi that I just think deserve it more. I'm sorry. Again, it's a strong song. I don't want to knock it for that. It gets 11th place in this semi for sure, but 11th isn't in the top 10. I'm very sorry. So moving on, you should know by now what 10 songs I want to qualify, but I'm going to go through them from least to most favorite. So again, we're at this point where anything could happen. And again, I'll go through my predictions of who I think will qualify, but that 10th spot, I am going to give to Iceland. Now, you might be thinking, Arthur, Iceland sounds like right up your alley. Why are you ranking it so low? I know. Again, similar to Greece, I really want to love what this group, which is called Sister, it's three women. The song is in Icelandic. I am not going to even attempt to pronounce the title, okay? But I will give the English. The English translation is With the Rising Sun. This is an Icelandic folk country tune. Very subdued, very chilled out, very Haim. They look like the women from Haim, that girl group. Harmonies are exquisite, though I really wish that I heard a little bit more of their vocals. I feel like they're drowned out with the reverbed out guitar that they've got coming around them in the stage. They're a little too understated with their vocal delivery. But I also appreciate that it's a soft take. They're not belters. That's not what this song is about. It's soft, it's almost whispery, it's featherweight, it's whimsical. I get it. I totally get it. I love the styling. I wouldn't change that much about this performance for the grand final, except maybe I would add a little bit more of a spotlight on just them and then have, I don't know, if some fog or some soft flickering lights kind of going off behind them, just something very kind of dreamlike and understated. I think that will really sell this for them. I do think they're going through in the final. I don't think they're going to struggle, but they, for me personally, they're on the lower end just because I'm a little underwhelmed by what I want from them. I hold them to such high esteem here because they are channeling something I'm really enjoying, and I just, you don't need to understand the words. You can just, get hypnotized by their comforting and calming and soothing harmonies. In spot number 9, I am going to put Switzerland. So I think Switzerland and Greece are going to be the two takes that I think a lot of people are going to want me to switch. I think a lot of people are a little bit bored by what Marius Bear is bringing with Boys Do Cry. I think a lot of people feel like it's by the numbers, it's a bit safe. We always get these sort of melancholic, soulful ballads at Eurovision that are great melodically, that are great vocally, but it's hard for them to be differentiated from each other after you get so many each year. I understand that. I think a lot of people are a little, after Gian grew McCroy and after Gian's Tears, and I think, and even Victoria last year, definitely getting Victoria vibes, growing up is getting older, whatever the title was. Sorry if I'm forgetting certain things. Eurovision content doesn't stay up here very easily sometimes. Look, I get that, but let's not forget, and have you listened to the studio cut? His vocals are so sultry and so jazzy and bluesy. I cannot get enough. And let's be real, I really love the sentiment of the lyrics. Boys, even if you're straight, can be emotional. They can show their feelings and express themselves. I know some people think this song's a little cliche or a little generic. Yeah, it's not the strongest lyrically. But it's very much, again, for Eurovision, I think a message that when you sell it with those vocals, and if the staging is done artfully, and I do believe it should be done artfully. I don't want him just sitting on a chair, with nothing else going on. I need something dynamic with the staging around him, similar to what they did with Victoria or Gion's Tears. If they can pull that off, I think Switzerland's got a very strong contender here, but I do not think that we are in the winning category with this song. I don't think enough people are gravitating towards it, and I do think it's a little derivative. So I do see it qualifying, or at least I would choose for it to qualify, but it is one of the songs out of this list that I am a little bit more like, I could see it not. But I put it in my 9th spot. In 8th is going to go to Portugal. Saudade, saudade. Saudade, saudade. Saudade, saudade. I'm not entirely sure on the pronunciation. The group Maro, all these women on stage harmonizing together. See, this is giving me a little bit what I wish Sister, the Icelandic group, would lean more into, which is just this mantra-like repetitive melodic hook as they repeat saudade, saudade. Nothing else I could ever say says it in a better way. Saudade is a Portuguese term for a unique form of sadness, a feeling of longing, melancholy, or nostalgia that is supposedly characteristic of the Portuguese or Brazilian temperament. It's a term that I've liked to use in the English vernacular because it's just a beautiful word. And what Maro is doing on stage is exactly the embodiment of the emotion that I expect for a song with that title. The clapping that they incorporate that can get the audience involved is something I would not have expected to do on a song like this, but I think it is brilliant. I think it adds to the sort of collective meditative experience that we're kind of engaged with them on stage. I love them all sitting down. I think sitting is a little more personal. It's like comfortable. It's not, they're just kind of vibing. But that doesn't mean that they're like phoning it in, I don't feel that. Yes, it is a sonically safe song. It's not a vocally challenging song. But I do prefer this to what they're giving us with Iceland. I think that this is just a slightly more compelling and emotionally stirring moment for me. And I just don't know if Iceland is pulling it quite as strongly. But it's tough. These two songs are really going to be fighting potentially for that spot. I don't know if both of these songs are going to be able to get through. I could see, unfortunately, Portugal not making it. And that would definitely, especially if like Latvia took its spot or something. If Latvia takes Portugal's spot, I am going to be very unhappy. Portugal has been robbed before, if not forgotten about Telemovic. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Maro, I am here for what you're doing. All right, next we have Slovenia. This is the one song on this semifinalist that has not come out on streaming yet, and I really want it to. It's called Disco by the group LPS. Again, it's a bit old school. It's this classic 70s disco track, but it's like a little bit more mid-tempo. It's jazzy, easy listening. Some people might pass it right by. Some people might think of it as a bathroom break. I don't know what it is, but I am gravitated towards it. The lead singer is easy on the eyes too. I'll give him that. But I see something just so collectively heartwarming. I think that this is our Black Mamba of the competition, our dark horse. But maybe this is just me speculating and thinking that they're really going to serve it with staging and charisma on stage. Maybe this will fall flat and they'll show that they're not putting a lot of effort into it. I do think that they really need to, they need to show a little bit more expression on stage than maybe they did on the selection performance, just to kind of engage the audience a little bit more, because I could see people just not really vibing with it. But this is my kind of wild card song for this semi. I want it to do well. I want it to go through. But again, I could easily see Greece taking its spot. I could easily see, unfortunately, a country like even Denmark or Latvia sadly taking its spot. And that pains me because, especially, like I said, if Latvia takes any of these spots, I'm going to be really upset. But yeah, Slovenia, I'm sorry, but I'm here for something a little different, something fresh and old school at the same time, but it's doing everything it needs to do. It's doing everything it needs to do well. And I like that it's sung in Slovenian. Okay, next we have Albania. Ronela Hajati with Secret. I don't know why it's spelled with a K. Is that just to be edgy? I'm not sure. Um, Albania is just always going to kind of overdo itself, I think. I think Albania trying really hard and sometimes failing is a staple at Eurovision. But Albania, they often open the show alphabetically. If you're looking at like the playlist, they like this song is certainly hitting the ground running. It's throwing a lot of stuff at the table. The revamp that they recently put out is, I think, pretty competent. I think the ethnic bop that this song is going to, captivate audiences. It's going to get the youth vote. I think that Ronella is going to serve choreography and energy, and I think that styling could be just absolutely out of this world because the styling in the music video is next level, and I'm expecting high couture. I'm expecting something very editorial and stylized on stage, and I'm expecting a journey, a theatrical performance with a capital P. If we don't get that, then this is definitely going to flop hard. Yeah, the production, especially in the cop out electro pop hook for the chorus, it gets a little redundant. But again, we're getting this ethnic Eastern European sound coming through so strongly, and this powerful, commanding, vocally dynamic voice coming through that can rap, that can sing, that can belt in the low and high register, because she's got a deeper, richer whole voice, and it's really commanding. I really see her taking control of the stage and just leaving nothing, like showing up with 110% energy. And I think we're in for a treat with this one. So I'm not too worried about Albania. I'm not too worried. I could even definitely see this coming in top 10 for Eurovision. And that's one of the first songs I can say that for pretty solid assuredness. Out of all the songs I've talked about. All the others, it's like a little iffy, but this one, maybe Iceland too, but this one I could definitely see making in the top 10. We have our top 5. All right, so the top 5 songs, these are the songs I really love, okay? These are the songs that I'm really close to, that I want to do well. At number 5, we have Norway. Now, again, I know you might be thinking, Norway at number 5, like we're going that high up? This is qualifying. I think that people who don't watch Eurovision that readily are going to gravitate towards it. I think it's going to gather a lot of popular support. I think a lot of people will gravitate towards it. It's a little TikTok friendly. The moves can be easily choreographed too and memorable. It can be fun for children. Like, look, what Subwoofer is doing with Give That Wolf a Banana, which I know. Look, the thing is there's something a little more enigmatic about this track. What Latvia is doing is straight up tongue-in-cheek, taking the piss out of Eurovision. What Subwoofer is doing is taking the piss out of Eurovision, but also making it art. They're also making it something that I respect artistically. They're also putting together a very well-produced electro dance tune. This is like high-edge, house dance, electro Nordic music. I don't know how else to put that. And it's very avant-garde, it's very mode, it's very of today. And I think it really can, if we loved what Little Big was doing for Russia, last year or the year before, whenever that was supposed to compete, we all loved that. We all came together for it. So why not Subwoofer? Subwoofer is subversive. Now, granted, I don't know a whole lot about the story or meaning of these lyrics. Obviously, the lyrics make no sense. There's a twist on this Little Red Riding Hood, fairy tale going on. I heard someone say, and by the way, the members of the band are Jim and Keith. So that explains where those names come from because they name dropped them in. The metaphor of a banana is like the COVID vaccine to the wolf. I've heard people say that's what they mean. Not verified, but that's what I've heard people say the meaning is. Anyway, I think that this is, whatever the meaning is, if it is political, I don't care. I want to see camp on Eurovision stage. I want to see something bizarre. I want to see something bonkers, but I also want to see something artful. And that's what this is giving me. Okay, much better than what Latvia is giving, which is just a bunch of dudes having fun and not really caring. I think Subwoofer really cares. I think they really do. And I think that they take themselves seriously in a way that they shouldn't. And I actually think that makes them more endearing. But it's also not vulgar. It's also not, like, to some extent cynical, because I think that Latvia's is such a cynical entry. It's sort of like, "Okay, are we making fun of people here? Like, I don't know. Are you making fun of me? Like, am I supposed to be, like, with you or against you? Like, what are you doing here? Are you laughing in our faces?" Subwoofer is just enigmatically, doing whatever they're doing, and I'm here for it, okay? It's stuck in my head. The production is next level. It gets a win for me. At number 4, we have Lithuania. Monica Liu Sentimente. That sounds Italian. I don't know if that's a Lithuanian phrase, but we do have a Lithuanian jazzy indie singer-songwriter moment here called Sentiments. Knock, knock at night is knocking at my heart, full of longing, accompanied by memories, spirit. You, it's you, a face seen long ago. Why are you laughing like a clown at my shining eyes? Moments are spinning around in my head. They're running where you are. A million roses, like sentiments, are drowning in the sea of clouds. Restless sea is murmuring. This song is graceful, it's classic, but it's modern. It's stylistically interesting, melodically rich. Production is everywhere. It's glittering, it's glistening. I love the dress that she's wearing, her styling. I want that sort of 1920s, 30s look mixed with this sort of glamour and the 1920s glamour and the sort of dive bar, but like elevated feel. It's an intimate song. Her vocals are chef's kiss. I really don't think you can go wrong with this, and this has to qualify. I'd be so frustrated if it doesn't, because I think that what Lithuania is doing is somewhat risky. It's risky, and I think that it's a risk that they need to make, and I think it's the kind of risk I want to see at Eurovision. And I think that along with Slovenia, it might not always be like my style of music that I listen to, but I respect it so much. I respect the artistry and the vocal power, the musicality that's coming through, and I feel like she really can, with the camera angles and everything, just work that stage, much like how Barbara Pravi did for France. I don't want to draw that comparison too much because they look similar and it's a similar retro kind of jazzy song, but there's that comparison. And Barbara did really well last year, so I think that will carry over for Monica. I hope. It worries me that this could get slept on, but we'll see. All right, top 3. Austria. Lumix featuring Pia Maria with Halo. Cannot deny the infectious dance quality of this track. I mean, from first listen, I was like, this is Eurovision ready. This is here to definitely qualify to just, capture a lot of people. I think that there's no way that they can bungle this. I know that looking at the music video, I think the styling is going to be on point, the edginess, the underground DJ, meets this euphoric club banger and like takes you to another level kind of atmosphere. The infectiousness of this song is going to carry it through. You can't sleep on this one. You can't deny it. It's going through. I don't think that that's a surprise. These top 3 are all going through. These are guaranteed qualifiers. Number 2 and number 1, I really don't know which one I like more right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I have preferences that lean me one way or the other. Right now, I'm just going to say them in an order. It doesn't necessarily mean I think one is better than the other. The Netherlands is the one I'm first going to talk about. De Diepte. Finally, the Dutch are sending an entry in Dutch. Like, they haven't in so long. I remember hearing it's been like almost a decade or something. Like, it's been a long time. It's S10, which is a strange name for a female artist who seems like a solo act. But S10, De Diepte, is our alternative folk power ballad of the year. The Depths, or In the Depths, is the title of the song in English. You know the feeling when your dream doesn't come true. Do you ever fear that it will always be like this? Because it rains every day and I don't see a hand in front of my eyes. You and me together, it always would be. Here in the depths, I hear your name over and over. Oh, my love, what am I supposed to do now? I'm deep and I don't want to let you go. I'm hiding under the table and I hope you find me. I've been waiting all evening. Oh, I look like a child. I'm biting my teeth again, and I know you are too. But God, what else can I do? When will it be enough? Here in the depths, I hear your name over and over. What Iceland is doing really should take notes from what S10 is bringing here. And I do think that S10 is going to knock Iceland a bit because I think that those two in the same semi is going to be contentious because we're getting this deeply emotive, unpolished vocal coming through that is so heartfelt and so aching, so melancholic in its native tongue over this country tinged guitar that is full of melancholy. It's atmospheric. This song has this autumn vibes. I feel like leaves falling around her would be apt for the staging, or leaves all over the floor. I get this feeling of like decayed or abandoned, warehouses, and like this imagery of like things that have long passed decay, but like in a beautiful way, in a sort of Polaroid kind of way. And I think that S10 is going to give us a story. She's going to give us a, emotional glimpse into her pain, or whatever the story is that she is going to tell on the stage. It is going to capture the hearts of everyone. And I am seeing a lot of love for it. So I am definitely, it's grown on me with future listens. At first, I was like, I appreciate it, but, the melody needs a little work. And now I can't get it out of my head. I want to listen to it a lot. Like it's grown to be that song for me, that more indie folk song. There's always one or two in the Eurovision lineup that I find just like cream of the crop, and that's what the Netherlands is serving. And I could easily see this being in my number one spot, but I'm going to give it to Ukraine. So Ukraine is the final song in this semi, and I'm giving it my number one spot. And trust me, it is not really because of what's going on, though I am going to comment on that, okay? First of all, can I just say, I have not heard the song that was originally supposed to go through. The Vidbeer winner that eventually got disqualified or withdrew due to eventual potential disqualification because of this controversy over her potentially visiting Crimea illegally. I did not get into all of that. I did follow up a little bit, but unfortunately, I never listened to that song. I heard a snippet. It did sound really interesting, and I really should check it out. That much respect to that artist. It seemed like we were getting a similar native language, ethnic, power and alternative folk ballad that I could have been really into. But instead, what we have is Kalush Orchestra giving us their song Stefania. This group is serving fire on stage, okay? Their performance in Vidbeer, I can't stop watching it. It is hypnotic. There is so much culture in this. And again, Goa A, comes to mind in the same vibe of, you pair that flute with that ethnic Eastern European instrumental, it's like game over. And even though it's a rap entry, I wholly am interested in what's going on here on stage vocally. Like the vocals are doing exactly what they need to do. I'm absolutely gobsmacked by this entry, and I'm kind of pissed that people are kind of sleeping on it because I don't know, maybe they're just mad about what happened to the other artist. Forgive me, I forget what her name was. I feel really bad. It's just, again, there's so much info here, and it's been a while since that all went down. But this is why I don't follow national selections anymore. I hate to say it, but the year I did follow national selections, my blood pressure was way too high. It's much better. I'm sorry, but it is much better to go through this, just seeing what songs come out of it, and then going through the Eurovision thing, going through all the national selections. First of all, how can you keep track of all of them? And second of all, the wrong song always gets chosen. It never goes right. I know that game. I've been there. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't get too invested in Shadows of Forgotten Lands. Was that the name of it? I can't remember. I'm so sorry. But what they're serving here, Stefania, please give me more. Okay? The way he plays the flute and dances at the same time, this song is full of swag. This song is a perfect blend of high culture and camp and fun. And it's probably deepness in the lyrics that are going all over our heads, but we're just having a fun time dancing because we don't care. So the mother, Stefania, the mother figure is being celebrated here. I don't know if one of the band members actually has a mother named Stefania, but they're singing about their mother, what the mother has to go through. I think it's really interesting that last year we had Russian Woman, sung by a woman, and this is a male band, and they're singing a very feminist Eastern European, Ukrainian song, similar to what the artist who sang Russian Woman, again, her name is escaping me right now, I'm so sorry. But what we were getting last year, it's like a similar vibe. Again, we've got hip hop meets, Russian, Eastern European folk music. Give me more. Like, I want more of this. This is what I want from Eurovision. This is what I'm signing up for. I think that the costuming is going to be richly full of heritage and culture. The staging, the visuals, the patterns. Oh my God, it's going to be a whole package. Please, please, please send them through. And I think that this is safely qualifying. I think that the whole controversy, or the whole kind of question, is how high is it going to rank? Ukraine, I'll be honest. Okay, so this is where I will just give this little aside. Ukraine is in a really rough spot right now. And obviously, I wouldn't blame them if they had to financially, or just, in terms of priorities, if maybe security was an issue. If Kalush Orchestra can even travel outside of Ukraine, they are men who are of serving age in their military. And unfortunately right now in Ukraine, all males of a certain age are being conscripted. So, it might be hard for them to avoid that, unfortunately. So there's a lot of reasons why they could eventually have to withdraw from this contest. I'm really glad that so far they haven't, so at least I can make this video and say, they're still in it, they're my number one from this semi. But unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if by May, we're down to, instead of 40 entries, we're now down to 39. We are definitely getting fewer and fewer entries in the last few years. We used to be at, I think 2016 was the highest, or maybe 2017 or 2018, where we were at 43, 44. That number has been going down, because unfortunately we have seen countries having to be cast out or deciding not to come back, like Hungary. We're seeing Belarus is no longer, is not coming back for a while. Unfortunately, that's just how it has to be because of what they did last year, which I agree was unacceptable. And then, of course, Russia is not competing this year. If you don't know, Russia usually does. They have been disqualified, understandably so. I was 100%, please, EBU, speak up. We need to do something. It is not fair for them to be competing. Absolutely not. I mean, no slight to the amazing Russian artists who have spoken out against this war. I mean, so many of them have. They are all very enraged at what's going on with their own country right now. But unfortunately, the ramifications of this, all of these organizations need to arrange this boycott for this, and so in solidarity with Ukraine and to make a statement. And so sadly, we won't be getting Russia this year, but hopefully we still will be getting Ukraine, because I would really hate to see, the argument be that Ukraine is just going to garner a lot of sympathy. It's not really fair for the other countries. They've got enough issues going on. Why are they participating? I've seen some people say that. And I'm like, do you hear yourself? Do you really think that's fair? If they can compete, they should be allowed to. Okay? And they shouldn't feel as though, because of whatever's going on in the world, there are always going to be things going on in the world that might give some political sympathy to a certain country. And that opens up a whole Pandora's box about political voting. And is that a real thing? There's a lot of inconsistencies with that argument. Some people think the UK does poorly because of Brexit, but then look at how well Israel has done. Look at how well Russia has done in recent contests. It's a little bit I don't know if it's so political as it is more just people like the song, and it's a lot about staging, and it's a lot about, how many followers that musician has in their own country. Those things, popularity, come down to it a lot as well. But ultimately, I really do think that Ukraine deserves a spot here. It is only in the interest of their own safety, especially for the members of the band, that they might not be able to perform, that I could see this not happening. But I really hope that Ukraine doesn't feel pressured by some of these voices in the media that some of these Eurovision fans who are saying that Ukraine, and look, some people are trying to say, I don't think Ukraine could host it next year. Why are we worrying about that? Let's worry about this year, and let's be real. I think Ukraine deserves to win. If this song won, I would 100% be happy, regardless of what's happening, if they were in a war or not. Regardless of the war or no war, this song would be in my top 3, okay? Let me be clear. I'm not hyping this song because of that. I am here for this. I am so here. They are channeling the spirit of Goe. They are channeling the spirit of some of the great Ukrainian artists they've had recently. And I just really want to see Ukraine thrive at Eurovision. So honestly, it's a little bit of a cherry on top that it's also what's going on with them. But it's not about that. It's about how good the song is and how deserving Kalush Orchestra is, because they are doing something musically genius, okay? So anyway, those are my thoughts, and that's my 2 cents. Maybe Ukraine, maybe they could host it in another country. If they are not in a good enough spot and they do win, maybe it could be hosted in another country. Maybe it could be hosted in Poland or something. I know people are like, well, that doesn't make sense, but I mean, look at Australia. Australia is set, if they ever win, they're going to host it in Paris. Okay, does that make any sense? No. Well, if that's the rule for Australia, why can't it be the rule for Ukraine? If Ukraine were to win, but they're not in a good spot in a year from now, that we can't host it somewhere else near to them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can make workarounds for this. If we're doing it for Australia, we can do it for them. So anyway, those are my thoughts. My heart goes out to, if anyone who watches these videos is, connected to Ukraine in any way, from Ukraine, like, I didn't know I was going to talk too much about it, but like what's going on right now is just so terrifying. And it's just like, that's why this Eurovision is so important right now. Like, we need these things to celebrate, and Ukraine needs it. And also, of course, the people of Russia, who are really struggling under a regime right now. Like, good Lord. Solidarity. I don't know what else to say. Like, peace, love, and light, as I always say at the end of these videos, but I don't know if that really covers it. But thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all with my recap of semifinal 2. That'll be out later this week. And then more Eurovision content, because like I said, I'll talk about the big 5. I will also be putting out a video where I won't be talking, but it'll just be a ranking of all the entries. Once we have all the entries, we're still waiting on Azerbaijan. That song's coming out on Monday. Once we have all the entries, I'll put that video out as well. So that will be coming out this week. Please give it a like if you enjoyed, and comment. What are the songs that you want to see qualify in this semi, and what are your thoughts? Remember, this is all just my opinion. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed day. And like I said, again, to everyone around the world, Mir, Lubov, Svitlo. See you on the next one. Bye.